Hello and welcome once again to Rich Brown Rewind with me, Rich Brown, formerly known as Frank Hope, and sometimes still known as Frank Hope. I see some of you are already here joining us. We have the chat open live, so feel free to put any questions you have in chat for our special guest tonight. And who is our special guest tonight? Well, it is someone that appeared on the show back in 1990. It was an episode with Terry Sweeney, our only Saturday Night Live cast member that ever appeared on Beyond Vaudeville. Leslie Holcomb, our resident sci-fi superfan, and the great Suzanne Muldowney introducing her Dracula dance. This dance was very special because it was Suzanne's first time doing it on the show. And it was also remembered very well by fans because of our next guest, who was seated and watching Suzanne's performance and got a case of the giggles. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And we're going to be talking about him and his career and his fascinating fascination with the Flying Nun. He is the president of the Flying Nun fan club. He's a songwriter. He's a musician. A really nice guy and a fellow Long Islander. So please, without further ado, let's welcome Jeff Michael. Hi, Jeff.
Thank you. Hello.
Did I get everything right there?
You got it all right. Musician, songwriter, fascination with the flying. I like that introduction. You were reminding me of such a wonderful time when I was on your show. It was amazing. It was memorable.
Well, we're going to get into it. We're going to look at some clips and we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I mentioned the Flying Nun because honestly, your history with the Flying Nun goes back to like when you were a kid. 8 years old was when you first.
Yeah, the show appeared in '67. Am I this old? And I watched it as a little kid, and state of the art. That was state of the art back then. A Flying Nun, a Witch on a Broom, My Favorite Martian, Bewitched. I always said that. I Dream of Jeannie. All of those shows back then were so, they were amazing because that was the state of the art. And when you're a little kid and you come home from school and you do your homework and you watch this little black and white TV and you see all this magic going on, it's enchanting. It really was enchanting. As you know, special effects have gone on. But back then, that was state of the art. That was amazing stuff. So it captivated kids.
Let's explain for any kids that are watching what Flying Nun was, right? And it essentially was a sitcom, but it was sort of a heartwarming sitcom. It ran for 3 seasons.
Yes.
Starred Sally Field, coming right off of Gidget, and
Gidget
went on to this great Oscar-winning career. But it was basically about a nun who had the ability to fly because of the way her habit was.
Right, the wings, the cornet.
The cornet, thank you.
Right.
From what I've read, I guess Sally Field has had mixed feelings about this show over the years. That sometimes it depressed her. She was pregnant when she was shooting this.
One of the seasons she was, she was pregnant. She's pregnant during season 2. Yeah.
But where does she stand on this? Have you've been head of her fan club? You have had some communications with her, yes?
I think at this point of her life, I think that she sees it as a nostalgic icon from TV history. I don't think it's like she's had an amazing career. She was just given a Life Achievement Award. They brought it up at the award show. People clapped and cheered. It's part of her work. I mean, there's a lot of things we do in our careers that we go, oh, I didn't like that. I mean, I did some music videos that I look and I go, I should have never did that. But, being in this industry, that's the business. It's a gamble. You do what you do. She was doing the Flying Nun because they just got her off of Gidget, and they wanted, Gidget they were calling in the studio. What happened to Gidget? So they said, well, we got to get another show. And they found this book, The 15th Pelican, and they turned it into a show, and she didn't want to do it. She said, no, I want to go on to do movies. They got an actress, Ronnie Troop, who I was in touch with, and they cast her as Sister Bertrill. But they said it wasn't working, that it was basically designed for Sally Field. And then her stepfather said, listen, if you don't take the job, you may never work again. So she got frightened. You know, she was 19 years old, 20 years old. So she took the job. But I have to say, I've interviewed most of the cast members, and they all said that she came into that studio every day and gave it her all. I mean, you cannot tell when you see the show. I mean, she's just amazing in the show, you know, and you talk to people who are fans, say, she was amazing in the show. You never saw her like, you know, lack in the show. She just went in there, and she said in some interviews, it was a job and I had to do my job. She was a professional. So yeah, I don't think she's very open to people who talk about it. She autographs anything from the Flying Nun. She's very approachable. I've only met her once, but I'm saying, you know, I've seen her in many circles of fandom, and she's really good with the fans. I mean, they, you know, Sally, the Flying Nun, and she's like,
and
she doesn't. What?
And you said autographs, and there is lots to autograph because there are pictures here of just some of the merchandise.
Oh, this is just some of it. I mean, the Flying Nun fan club wasn't something I said, oh, I'm going to be the president of the Flying Nun fan club. What happened was, I love to bring people together. I love parties. I'm a musician. When you're on the stage and you're playing and you're singing your original songs, it brings people together. It makes them happy. I love to give parties. So I wanted to do a theme party. We always had Halloween parties growing up, Christmas parties, So my friends and I were sitting around. I said, I feel like having a nice party. We got to have a theme. What's the theme? You know? And it's the Flying Nun. You know, I had all this stuff in the closet. I said, you know, my friend goes, how are you going to do a Flying Nun party? I said, we'll take everything out, we'll display it, and then the ideas just kept growing. I said, we'll make hats, people wear hats, button, and it just grew. And there was like 60 people at my parents' house. We changed it into a convent. Everybody was wearing hats, buttons. We had people parading down the street, and I got another idea. Let's film this, you know, because I write music and I was getting inspiration for a song. And so we had all the people walking up and down the street, 60 people in nun hats. We had food, we had memorabilia. It was crazy, and everybody had a great time. And you know, I just said, I love that. I love bringing people together and having fun. It just makes me feel like, you know, this is what it's all about, you know. And
so this was 1986. You had this this theme.
Yeah, 86. We did a party. Yeah, and then.
I thought I'd share the music video that I guess came from that grew out of this party.
That grew out of that party. Yeah, you know, my friend filmed it, and when I saw the footage, I said, you know, this could be a video. And we did a video.
So let's
and it grew legs.
This is an original song that you wrote in honor of the Flying Nun. By the way, some people in chat, Barry Mega, watching stream for the first time. Hope you are well. I'm well, Barry. I hope you're well too. Jeff, are you well?
I'm well.
Everybody's well. Perfect.
We're all well.
Mike Bentz is asking, always wondered why the hat didn't just blow off.
You know, well, that's very, very interesting. Now, when I was a little kid, I didn't want to believe that she couldn't fly. Now, when they put the cornet on, as I interviewed the cast members, there was a comb in the skull cap, and it would go like this. And I just assumed when I was a little kid, that's what's keeping it on her head. And I guess, you know, it's picking her up. You know, when you're a little kid, it was so believable. You couldn't believe it didn't happen because you figured her dress was like a kite and her wings were like an airplane wings, you know?
And if I remember correctly, she would hold on to it a little bit too, wouldn't she?
Yes.
She was taking off and
she would, you know, hold it, you know. I'm sure that hat blew off. That's why I want to interview her about what happened behind this. I love behind the scenes stories. I want to know if the hat blew off, you know. I want to know that stuff.
And someone called No One is saying hi from New Zealand. Hello, No One. I have spent time in New Zealand and I love it there. And you're very lucky to be living over there, No One. So anyway,
okay.
Let's take a look at this video. This was Jeff doing one of his original songs about the Flying Nun.
Yes. Oh, God.
Everybody's got a little secret deep inside. I'm gonna tell you my secret. Oh, babe, I wanna fly.
What memories? This video took weeks to film. We had so many costumes. Got enough sequins there. That's my brother.
Ah,
My other brother's on the drums. That's my sister in the middle.
this definitely has an 80s feel to it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's still fabulous. It's fabulous. That we filmed at a mansion. That was hilarious. We got lost in there. Okay, that's my other brother. Look at that. My goodness. That's me. That's a rock and roll. Those shoes.
And the hair and the outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. And I needed to be on Vaudeville with this.
So we showed that in the episode, and the episode
Yes.
actually can be found on our YouTube channel, the whole episode. But
Yes.
I thought I would bring up a clip of when you were on. So remind us here. So this is 1990. It's July 1990. Is basically 14 years ago. 24 years ago. What am I talking? Right?
No, actually, if it was it 90 or 94?
It was 1990. Yeah.
All right, so then it's 34 years ago? No, it wasn't 34 years ago. It was 14 years ago because we still look fabulous.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Settled. So you really didn't know much about the show when you came to the Beyond Vaudeville studio, right?
No. What happened with that video was, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing with this. We had a party. We had a great party. Produced the video. It took a couple of weeks to film it. It was a lot of work. And then it was edited. And now I had this video in my hand. I'm like, okay, I have this video. So back in the day, you can call up the networks and say, listen, I got a human interest story. So I started telling about the Flying Nun, blah, blah, blah. Good Day, New York. Love the idea. I get a phone call. They did like a 5-minute profile on it. I still have the tape somewhere. It was amazing. And then it grew legs, that video. All of a sudden they played it there. They played it on ABC News. They profiled me on it. I mean, they just were so, they were so enchanted, or I don't want to use the word enchanted, but they were enamored by all of this iconic culture, this TV pop culture, and how I weaved it into a music video. And so I was getting picked up on all the networks, and I was thrilled. You have no idea. I mean, here I was on Joan Rivers. I was on ABC News, Maury Alter, every news station, and they played that video over and over again. I was on a show called Video Challenge, which they challenged the video and it won. And I got money. I did. It was very nice.
And when you were on Joan Rivers, you actually wore the outfit, yes?
Well, this is what happened with Joan Rivers. She saw me on, I think it was Good Day New York, and she was in California, and I was in California, and she saw something there. Her people called me and said she wants you on the show. So I was in California, and she met with me, and she couldn't put me on the show that particular day, but she said, are you going to be here? And I said, yes, blah, blah, blah. And then sadly, her husband passed, and the show was closed. So about a year later, she had the show in New York, and they contacted me again, and they said, Joan wants you on the show. And I was like, okay, she wants you dressed as the Flying Nun. I said, no. I said, I'm a musician and I don't want to be dressed as the Flying Nun because I'm not a petite guy. I'm not a big guy, but I don't know. No, it'll be fun. I said, all right, I'll tell you what. What amazed me was that I asked, who was I? I had asked for certain things for me to be on the show. I said, all right, if you want me in the show, this is what I want Joan to do. I said, I want her to wear a hat as well. I want to bring my mom. She's got to talk about the fact that I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, that I'm an entertainer. It's not that I sit around dressed as a Flying Nun all day, because I had a bad experience with a show and they had me on there as like a Looney Tune. And I almost walked off the show. I said, no, this is not what I'm about.
Can I take a guess? Richard Bay?
No, it was Charles Perez.
I don't even remember that show.
It was a real show. It really didn't go anywhere. He was very nice. But it wasn't a show I should have been on. It was one of those, like, it was almost like a borderline of like a Jerry Springer. So I almost walked off the show. It was just silly. So, like I said, you have to do your homework, and it's a gamble. Everything's a gamble. So I went on her show, and she was amazing. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
She was amazing. She treated me like royalty. She had me limoed out. My mom was there. She was amazing. And I met her years later, and she came over to me. Oh, Jeff Michael. Oh, I worked with this guy. He was so much fun. Oh, are you still doing your music? I said, yes. Keep going. Look at me. I'm 100. I'm still going. Don't you ever give up. I love that woman. Wow, she treated me like a prince.
We should have had you on as an impressionist. I had no idea. Wow.
She treated me like a prince. So you called me. Your people called. And I have to tell you, I was leery because I had come off this other show that I knew nothing about. Because I always tell people, do your homework. Don't jump into things. And I did what I say to people don't do. I didn't do my homework. So I didn't know what your show was about, but you were so cool on the phone. You said, we're about this, we're about TV. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. And I brought my Aunt Carol. I brought my cousin Christine, I brought my friend Lisa, and we walked from 34th Street all the way to, I think your studio is on 78th.
At that time, we were on 57th. Yeah.
57th. Okay. And I think 9th or 10th Street.
Right.
And it was in July. And it was hot and it was humid. And I'm dressed in these striped pants that were polyester with this heavy shirt. And I had long curly hair, and oh my God, we got to the studio and we were like wet rats, and I met you, and it was very like, all right, come on, we're going here. And blah, 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 blah. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea, but I said to my aunt, my cousin, and my friend, I said, you know what? This, to me, I'm having this feeling this is going to make a great story. And then you introduced me. I bring up my bag of bologna there, all my Flying Nun stuff. And you would, I have to tell you, I didn't get the theme of the show. I knew it was going to be eclectic. I knew it was going to be like like a Pee Wee Herman Playhouse / shenanigans. It was like a kid. So when I got into then there was a gentleman sitting next to me who was stiff, and he just stood there. He didn't say a word, and the puppets were coming out, and I said, you know what? I'm in Alice in Wonderland ×2, and I just sat there. And you were a great interviewer, and you graciously showed the whole music video. And then he was sitting next to me, the puppets, blah, blah, blah. And then after we did the interview, I didn't know if I was supposed to get up and walk off the stage. So I slid over. And Suzanne Muldowney, right?
Suzanne Muldowney, yes.
Right, Suzanne Muldowney. Lovely woman, had no idea what she was doing. Yep. And she comes up, and she's telling me something about underdog. And she whispered something in my ear. And you said, what? No secrets here. And she said, I do a character underdog. I said, oh, okay. And I like the Flying Nun. I said, okay. So she started talking about Dracula, and she was so intense. And I looked at her, and she was so intense with the Dracula. And I'm like, oh, you know, and I was being professional, you know, I had to be professional. And she got up there and did this interpretive dance. Rich, to this day, it was so bizarre and hilarious that I was in pain trying to hold the laughter in. And I looked down the corridor where my relatives were, and they had towels in their face because I was trying to hold the laughter in. And I said, I can't laugh. It's not right. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking at you, and you're just like, I'm like, how is no one being affected by this? And I'm trying not to laugh because it was amazing. It was so funny. I couldn't take it serious because it was that over the top. And I remember at the end of the clip, I clapped. And then the camera was on me, and I didn't think they were going to catch this. And I went, wow. And the camera got that clip. And when she stood in front of me, she opened up the cape. And my relative said, was she naked? I'm like, no. But she was swirling around, and it was hot in there, and the dust was kicking up. It was an amazing experience, I will tell you that.
And it was very relatable, Jeff, what you were going through there, because we've all had that experience where we get the giggles. And
oh my God. And
we've heard from, you know, fans that just, you know, mention your appearance and your appearance with Suzanne many times. And so we're going to take a look at that clip. And
I really should have just busted out laughing and let it out because I was in pain, but I said, I have to be professional.
And that probably might have been a dangerous move on your part too.
Probably.
Suzanne did have her sword, and
yes, I thought of that.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Jermaine Freelance has joined, says, you guys are the greatest. Thank you, Jermaine. Sarah Rusi has joined, saying, hey, Sarah, enjoy watching. And here we go. We're going to take a look at Jeff seated, just finished up his interview, and here comes Suzanne.
Our next
I love this.
Is Miss Suzanne Muldowney, who fans of the show will know. I did mention Underdog, but actually she's not doing that today, and I don't want to confuse people. She also does some very nice dedications to Vlad the Impaler, who's Dracula. But she'll tell you all about that. And Suzanne Muldowney, please welcome. Now, oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Now, Suzanne, you are going to do for us today what now? Can you tell us?
I'm showing the real Dracula, the historical Prince Vlad the Impaler, but we'll see him make the transition to the classic vampire of Bram Stoker's famous novel.
Okay. Now, you were whispering something to Jeff, our other guest. You weren't keeping secrets from us. Were you? What was that?
No, he was.
Okay, David.
No, he was mentioning classic flying characters in his song. He mentioned Superman. I whispered to him that another character impersonation I frequently do is Supergirl.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And you
Supergirl,
also
that's
do,
right.
A character of your own creation, which most people may not know about, is Spectra, the Ghost King.
Spectrum.
Spectrum, okay.
Yes. Well, that's strictly for Halloween.
Okay, all right. Well, now, maybe you can do your performance for us, please. We have all the items that you brought, and if the studio is ready in there.
You were amazing.
Here's your crown. And
Jeff, you're the star in this sequence.
Is that everything? No,
You-
I'm sorry.
you were
There's one there. Okay.
I was actually looking to you for help.
You have the music?
What should I do? What should I do? This is where I start losing it. my relatives down the corridor. Like this. Oh my God. I can still remember this. So intense. I love the bobby pins. I kept saying, maybe I should have this was the tape I was on. You can actually hear her scream.
Yes, I should point out, not to interrupt this great work.
No,
but,
no.
This is it's a sound-alike music because
Yes.
Suzanne was always picking songs that had rights issues. Although toward the end of this, you'll see there is some of the original clip, and you can hear some of the screaming. But
Yeah, on that point, when she screamed right there, and then she got on the floor, that's when I looked at you and I looked at and I'm like, someone say something because I'm going to lose it. And then it was so great.
Here we go.
We're living it.
There you are, sort of looking off for support. You're
I'm looking at you like I'm thinking you're going to go, do you believe this? But I didn't get that from you. You were like,
you're doing every gesture possible.
everything. And my relatives were dying back there. And I'm dying because I can't even move. I gotta be the This was the part. I'm dying. Oh my God.
And then she came right up to you.
And she comes up to me, and I'm like, what? Why are you coming up to me? I really thought at this point like she was going to be unclothed or something or naked. I'm like, what the hell? Right there. That was it. I didn't understand that part, but hey, it was her interpretation. Those bobby pins are still there.
There's a lot of symbolism going on.
Yes. Lots. Oh my goodness. Amazing.
Now you did make it. And Nochi Mochi 1 says, this was the first episode I ever saw. Jeff was a champ! Exclamation point.
Thank you. Watching it all over again was, at least I could laugh, but I was holding everything in and seeing my aunt. Oh, it was the best. I'm sorry. It was painful. It was very painful, but man, we talked about that. We're still talking about that.
Pennsylvania Pinchington says, David looks like he is also holding back laughter. I don't know, Pennsylvania. Hard to say. You never know.
Yeah.
All right, let's let this continue.
There I was, professional.
Yeah.
Professional. There you go.
Wow. Suzanne, I was worried that you were almost hurt during some of that. It was so real. The sounds. I don't know if the people at home could hear with the music, but she was really groaning and things. Now, do you really feel that when you go through that transformation?
To some extent. The important thing is to show that Dracula was real, but not a vampire, and that he never got the vampire image slapped on him until Bram Stoker wrote his book. See, you saw me fall and die, he was slain in battle, and then he woke up, in the Twilight Zone, and he touches a copy of Bram Stoker's novel to make him go through the transformation. Let me show this.
No, that's not what the real Vlad did, though. He didn't touch the novel.
No, he was so
it's
intense.
symbolic.
But the real Dracula was not a vampire. He was a medieval Prince Warland.
Okay.
Here, can the camera get in real close on this
just
picture?
Hold it up there and,
get in real close on this
please do.
picture right
Okay.
here.
So it seemed like you were really able to
Some
kind
of you may have
take
seen
control
my
by this
costume when I
point.
started.
Yeah, but the camera pans in on me here, and I'm making a very unusual face. I didn't know the camera was on me when I was like, wow.
When the vampire image was created by Stoker, ultimately it came to the well-known play and movie dramatizations. But what happened was the earliest dramatists overlooked some passages that Bram Stoker made in his novel to the real Prince Warlord, so that people watching the plays and movies mistakenly inferred that Dracula was purely fictional. So
I wouldn't trade this for the world.
It became tamer and tamer.
And you walked away learning quite a bit about
I certainly did. I
Okay.
did.
Well, now, Suzanne, we want to bring out our last guest, too, so we have everyone out, please. Let's welcome Mr. Leslie Holcomb. Okay, now, Leslie, we do have to wrap up quickly, and we want to thank all our
I think he was
guests.
on for a
Can you
second.
quickly show us one thing you brought with us, with you?
Okay, this is a photograph I got
Love his
a
voice.
long time ago, about 2-3 years back.
I love his voice.
And
I just sat there
You
saying,
just- I can show
Okay.
you my next visit
Okay.
if you can arrange that.
And who is that now?
And that's Patrick Troughton from Great Britain, Doctor Who celebrity.
Doctor Who. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching Beyond Vaudeville. Thank you, guests that are still here, and we'll go see you soon. And you'll be back, Leslie, next show.
Hopefully.
Okay.
oh my God. I mean,
And there you
let
go.
me tell you, that was memory lane for me. No, that I had a great time. We're still laughing over it. Like I said, I met Suzanne a couple of other times after that. She was at some parades. She remembered intensely who I was, and I remembered intensely who she was.
Wow.
And I bumped into her a couple of times. And then I got after I was on your show, I got a call to do the Howard Stern show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I didn't do it. My friend's like, don't do it. Don't do it. You're going to walk off of there looking like an idiot.
Now,
I could have held my own, but I kind of regret I didn't do it. But, everyone's like, you've been on all these shows and, it was a lot of fun. You're the musician who wrote the songs. They showed your videos. Howard Stern's going to rip you apart. But you know what? I do regret a little I didn't do it because I could have held my own. I could have.
I believe you could have, Jeff.
Oh, I could have.
And now, and I would imagine that Suzanne, she is interested in characters that have these aerial characteristics. Like they're probably, and she is very interested in TV of like the 60s. So she probably knew quite a bit about the Flying Nun, I would suspect. I don't know if there was much opportunity to speak with her about it off camera, but
because when we left, we were soaked in sweat, and she left, And then we walked back from that studio to the station, and we stopped and got iced coffee. I would do it all over again. I would do it all over again. It was great.
So, yeah, we had great memories of that episode, and then a couple of years ago, I am looking online, saying, "I wonder what Jeff's up to," and I find that you did another music video for the Flying Nun, kind of updating an updated sound, and I want to show this one. This was from the 50th anniversary.
The first video was, we put that together for the 20th anniversary. I think it was the 20th. Oh, wait, no, it was in 86. So we just did the video, and then the 20th came after that. 25th. And then I did some displays and exhibits and things like that. And then I got involved with reading programs because I used the book, The 15th Pelican. And because like I was telling you, when I was a little kid, I was very into the creative part of how things were put together. What little kid reads the credits? I want to, who did the music? Because I played piano. I wanted, who did the music? Who wrote the story? And there it says, a novel by Terry Rios. And I said, I got to get this book, The Flying Nun. My mother, God bless my mother, she brought me to all the libraries to find The Flying Nun. Because back then there was no internet and nothing like that. You went to the library. And I couldn't find that book, The Flying Nun. The librarian's like, there's no book, The Flying Nun. And then found out years later it was The 15th Pelican. So I was busy doing reading programs because some of the teachers had seen me on TV and they said, you're really good storyteller. So this was a photo that I did with the kids. And Entertainment Tonight covered it. Oh. And I was doing a whole thing on the 15th Pelican. And my whole storyline was imagination, Terry Rios had an imagination. She wrote this book. The book was shelved, and then these producers saw the book and made it into a TV show. And I, as a little kid, saw the show, and it made me write a song. So I was trying to convey to kids, imagination is your best computer because it just keeps, growing, and you can create so many wonderful things. And that was a great program, and they loved that. And I bumped into some of those kids today, and they go, I remember you, Jeff Michael, you did the reading program. But the video that you're talking about now, it was the 50th anniversary, and I didn't have a platform to present my collectibles because the nostalgia store that I did the exhibits was gone. A lot of the places where I did exhibits, they were gone. So I said, well, for the 50th anniversary, I'm going to do another video, and I'm going to take all the clips of all the photos and all the things we did over the years and combine it into, and mesh all this together and make it a cohesive, fun video. And then I was going to California, and I was meeting with the cast members and interviewing them.
All right, well, let's take a look at the video, and then and we'll talk a little bit about your meeting with some of these cast members, right?
Yeah.
Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Patrol.
Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Patrol.
It all happened once upon a time, not long ago. A book was written by author Terry Rios. A story about a 90-pound nun who could fly. That's right, listen up, and I'll tell you why. She wore a coronet that was shaped like wings. It took her to the skies for an adventuring. The book had success that was showed away. No one knew how big it would come back one day. Meanwhile, back in the land of Hollywood, Gidget was canceled. The network never should have taken off the air. What to do? What you got? They went to the bookshelf on the backstage lot. They thought about the book, The 15th Pelican, turned it to a hit. Sure, like Helican, they had new ideas, and when they were done, they came up with the TV show The Flying Nun. Celebrate, celebrate.
Oh, there's a party.
Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Patrol.
Celebrate, celebrate.
This girl.
Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Patrol.
Sisters Anna and Sisto, Teacher Con, Vincentenko. Reverend Mother made the rules. Sister Jacqueline kept her cool. Carlos Ramirez on the town casino here in old San Juan, Puerto Rico. Captain Fermento was the chief of police. A bumbling clown, but he kept the peace. It was fall of '67 on ABC. The new show had music, laughter, drama, fantasy. Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate.
That was the 25th anniversary.
Sister Patrol.
Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Patrol.
50 years years have come and gone, these fabulous characters live on and on. On TV, reruns, DVD, internet, iPhone, download stream. If you want some happy love, can't be fun, watch an episode of The Flying Nun. Celebrate, celebrate.
That was a hard shot. Right in traffic.
Sister Betrayal.
Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Sister Betrayal.
50-year mark 2017.
On the cover of a magazine.
50 years mark 2017. Celebrate, celebrate. 50 years mark 2017. We can watch it on the HD big flat screen. 50-year mark 2017. Around the world she can still be seen.
Oh my God.
Sister Betrayal.
Celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the Flying Nun, Flying Nun.
Wow.
I like that video. That was fun. That was such a smattering of everything we did. And the girl who played Sister Betrayal, I worked with her. Wonderful girl, Angelina. She was wonderful. And then the funny part in that video was we went to the marina, and we had the camera guy and the sound guy, and it's like there's always going to be a mistake, no big deal, So we get there, and she forgot the skirt, or I forgot the skirt. So she was actually at the marina with a shirt, no skirt, and long nylons. Nobody noticed. It was hysterical. And we worked on that video for a while, and I actually tried to get that out there, and I just put it on YouTube. So it's getting some moderate success here and there, but I enjoy doing it because it was sort of paying homage to the 50 years. And I wrote the tune. I was just sitting in my room one day, and I said, how would I write something, and I had a rap. You got to rap. So I rapped.
Your dedication to this series is impressive. It's like there were 82 episodes so many years ago, but you're still doing it. You're still believing in it, and and I know you've got another special project in the works about surrounding Flying Nun.
Well, you know what it is? It's we know the show is 57 years old. The cast members are mostly gone. I interviewed a lot of them. Shelley Morrison, who was on Will and Grace, she was Rosario. She was Sister Sisto. She was amazing. Linda Dangsell, who played Sister Anna, amazing. They welcomed me into their homes. We had interviews. Manuel Padilla, who played Marcello, he was in the series. All wonderful. They treated me so well, and of course I treated them wonderfully. And I did some really nice interviews with them, and I just recently did an interview with Lorraine Sorrell, because what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get a lot of the guest appearance stars. There was Lorraine Sorrell. She played Raina. There was Raina Kapleck. She was on an episode called Requiem for. There was a Requiem. Let me see what it said. Requiem for Methuselah, and she was telling me in the interview that, because I interviewed her because she was in an episode of The Flying Nun. This was her on Star Trek. She played, and she said to me that she was called to do the series, and she says, I'm wrapped up in this bizarre costume. And she said to William Shatner, what are we doing? We're trained theater actors and actresses. This is ridiculous. And he said to her, or one of the other actors said to her, it's Christmas money. And she said, I never realized I would turn into a cult, classic icon from the 60s TV. She said, the kids, the Star Trek fans meet me and they're like, oh my God, it's Rana Kepler from, Star Trek. And, she does signings and stuff. I met, and she was on the Flying Nun. This is her when she was in the Flying Nun.
Oh, wow. Well, that's not from the Flying Nun series, but
yes,
at the time
no, I'm going to tell you, she was in an episode called The Bell for Santanko. And this is her with Alejandro Rey.
Wow.
And she was in this episode. She played Binky Wadsworth. She was Carlos's little friend for the weekend. And Sister Betrayal, they wanted a bell for the tower. And they found out that there was a bell in the ocean. And she convinced Carlos to get it. But he wanted to go on this trip with this girl. And it was Lorraine Sorrell. So these photos that I'm showing you were never printed, never publicized, because that's a whole nother story. Like you say, my dedication, it's more or less, I love the fact that something comes my way that I've never seen before. And one thing that came my way were the negatives of the show that were never published. A wonderful man, Howard Frank, was a big photo collector. And he contacted me when he saw me on one of the shows. He says, I have like 10,000 negatives of the Flying Nun. I'm like, oh my God, 10,000 negatives, and the fun of it is seeing the behind the scenes with the camera, and she's on the wire. And, that's what I love about doing, why I keep going with this, because there's always something new I didn't know was out there. And it's fun. It's like, you feel like Indiana Jones, So, sadly, he passed away, and someone else, his family acquired the negatives. So I've been obtaining the negatives, and this batch was in this packet of negatives, and Louise was in there, and I'm like, oh my God. And I sent her a letter, and she called me. So nice. She was such a delight to meet, such a delight. She invited me to her home in New York, and she told me her experience on the show, that, they filmed on the boat, and she was telling me about how she had a little implant on her teeth that would fall out while they were filming and fall on her boobs, and they had to stop filming. Funny behind the scenes stories again. And I said, were you actually in the water? Because the scene is she's fishing and she falls off the boat, and Sister Patril has to fly and locate where she is, and she's floating on a piece of wood out in the ocean. And when you see her in the water, it's vast. And I said, was that a pool? She goes, no, I was at Marina Del Rey in the water. She said, back then you just did what you did. And it was filmed on a boat. And
so
she was...
when you talk to her, or any of the people that were on the show, and you actually will, mention something so specific like that, do they ever just stop and say, how do you know all this stuff? Why do you know all this stuff? Or do they is it perfectly natural to them that, and you probably remember more than they do about these episodes?
Well, no, they don't say that, because they know the fans know a lot about the stuff. And I always let them know, listen, I'm not like an obsessed person. I have a life. I love to write music. This is just part of my life. And I'm very good. I love to interview. I was never a journalist, but I'm a good interviewer. And, they always felt comfortable with me, because they knew that I was real. I wasn't like, I was trying to get nothing but an interview. But Louise Sorel, she was class. I mean, beautiful woman, beautiful, funny. I actually came across a whole bunch of negatives of her that I want to contact her and go see her again, because I found some old photos of her, because she did modeling. She's still a beautiful woman, and wonderfully, so friendly, so warm. I really enjoyed meeting her. And I just finished getting in touch with one of the boys, the boy actor. What's his name? I can't think of his name. Rich. Anyway, it'll come to me. He played in an episode, and I wanted to interview him, because the episode he was in was really, he was in the whole episode. I like to contact the guest stars who were in the whole episode. And I contacted Ruta Lee. She was more than happy to be interviewed, because she was in a two-parter. And she just said she had a great time. She worked with Alan Hale. I found some negatives in that batch with her and Alan Hale. I'm going to send them to her.
Alan Hale Jr.
Alan Hale Jr.
Yeah.
And Brian Nash. That's who was the boy in the. He played in Please Don't Eat the Daisies. And Brian Nash played an episode. And I found him, and I called him up. I said, listen, I hope I got the right guy. I said, I run the fan club. I'm working on a project. Are you the actor, the child actor who played in The Flying Nun? He goes, maybe. I'm like, maybe I got the wrong guy. And little by little, it was him. I think he was a little hesitant. And then he said, no, that was me, Brian Nash. He said I was on Please Don't Eat the Daisies. And I looked at his picture. So I'm going to do an interview with him. Wow. He says, I got lots of stories. I said, I want to hear them. Because I'm putting a project together. I want to hear these stories.
Pennsylvania Pinchington says in chat, the key word of Beyond Vaudeville seems to be fanaticism, with Frank being fanatic about fanatics. Well, I am fascinated by Jeff's interest in this, and as I am interested.
Me too.
Yeah. So, and Jeff, maybe quickly, could you just show us some of the rare items? And you have the premier collection of Flying
Yeah,
Nun.
the stuff that I would collect was stuff that you really was so obscure. I think it wound up in like small toy stores, like this lunchbox. Okay, this is all over eBay, but when it came out, it still got the tag. Look at this. I try to get primo stuff, but this here was one of the versions. They had a square one, and I was able to get my hands on the artist who did the artwork for that lunchbox, which I found so interesting. This is the original artwork for the lunch bag, and he signed it and everything. And this was what they used when they made that lunchbox. I also have the, this was another one. I'd never seen this. The only thing I got as a kid that, in lieu of allowance, my mother would buy us, because we loved Batman and we loved all those shows. So in lieu of allowance, my mother would buy us, like, because we're a musician, she'd buy us the songbook that went to the show, or a board game, or a lunchbox, or a coloring book. But this stuff I never saw. This was like this is a Stitch a story, and it's you stitch onto this stuff and you make like embroidery. I never saw that when I was a kid. This is another thing, never saw this, a puzzle from Amsterdam, and I said, oh, this isn't for, and then there it was in Amsterdam, and I would have never known this stuff existed. This was another thing that never saw, a weaving loom set. I mean, this is amazing.
Now, Jeff, do you find yourself, since we're not talking about, I don't know what, Friends or something that was on for years, do you find yourself in much competition when you're bidding for these items? Are there particular fans that you're? I
don't know what it is. I would say 5 years ago, this stuff was not as people weren't grabbing for, and for the last 2 years, it's gone up again. Bubblegum cards, Flying Nun bubblegum cards. I couldn't believe they sold a box for $2,500.
Wow.
I was bidding on the original hat and dress. In fact, I went to a auction where they had one of the hats, which I wasn't happy with the way that looked. My mother said, that looks like a dish towel. And they got $8,000 for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I tried to get the original hat and dress. The whole outfit did go up on auction 10 years ago. It sold for $36,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you sorry you didn't buy it?
I bid on it. I went up to I was broke as a church mouse, but I was like, listen, that's the the crown jewel to the collection. And I think I went up to 20,000, and I said, well, I got 20,000 on a credit card. But then it just kept going. I was like, oh well. Like one time I bid on the Wicked Witch's hat, and this was like 25 years ago, and I bid $45,000 because the Wicked Witch is another one of my favorite characters. And I bid $45,000. I told my parents, I bid on a hat. My father goes, you put a bid on a house? I said, no, a hat. He goes, a hat? I said, yeah, the Wicked Witch's hat. He goes, what the hell is wrong? What do you got it bid up for? I said, it's $45,000. And he's like, where are you going to get the money? I said, Dad, I don't think I'm going to win it. I just wanted to say I bid on it. And for 4 days, nobody else bid on it. I was sweating it out. That hat sold for $76,000.
Wow.
And it recently just sold for $750,000.
Wow. So that would have been an even greater return than buying a house.
Indeed. But wow. I couldn't afford $75,000 back then. I'm just a musician, playing the songs, going from bar to bar. So,
well, yeah. I just want to touch on Jeff before we're winding down. And by the way, if anyone else has questions in chat, get them in now because we will. Here's your opportunity. If you had questions about Flying Nun or Jeff, anything. We were talking, and you had crossed paths with some of our other Beyond Vaudeville guests. You mentioned that Sal Piro from Rocky Horror Picture Show fan club. You had crossed paths with him at times.
Yes, I worked at Fire Island playing piano there, and he was the head of the Rocky Horror Picture Show fan club. He was a great guy. He actually promoted me. They had a thing in Queens at the Museum of the Moving Image. They had I played piano old nostalgic songs for they were giving awards to like Barbara Feldon, and Don Kirshner was there. And I called Sal. I said, Don Kirshner should be there. And I called John Kirshner because someone put me in touch with me. And he said, thank you so much for putting me in touch with this award show. I didn't know there was one. And then I was telling, he just, you're the Flying Nun guy. I said, he goes, and I played piano. And he loved the way I played. Mark Goddard, who was in Lost in Space, was there. He says, I want to sit and hear you play. It was great. Sal was a great guy. He put me in touch with a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, and then you also had gone to Grandpa's restaurant.
Yes.
Now Lewis had a restaurant in New York. And
amazing.
Was you there when you went?
Well, my brothers brought me there for one of my birthdays, and they said they would surprise me because they knew I loved the Munsters too, you know. And we walked in, and I'm like, "Where are we going? Where are we going?" And we pull up in front of Grandpa's, and I said, "Oh, Grandpa's restaurant." So I'm looking for Al Lewis. And I'm looking for a tall man. And I'm looking around. I mean, I'm looking for a short man. And I'm looking around. I said to my brother, where is he? And my brother goes, he's right there. I was like astonished how tall he was. He was like 6'2". And yet I thought he was this little short, squatty guy. And I went over to him and we started talking. And my brothers and my sister and my mom, we all became friends with him. And we would go to the restaurant every couple of weeks and he would say, oh, you guys are coming tonight? Park right here. I'd say, but Al, there's a fire hydrant there. He goes, don't worry about it. Just park the car and get in here. Love that man. And, you know, I didn't grow up with a grandfather. So I said, I had a grandpa. And he used to sit at the table and eat with us. He used to say to me all the time, you're one of a kind. And I'd say, my father says the same thing.
Yeah,
he was wonderful.
He was a great guy, everybody's grandpa, and he hosted one of our live shows, and it was right before he was opening that restaurant. And the night we did the show, after the show was over, he led us all. We walked across the village over to the restaurant, and he had us testing the food. Which was good. The food was good. And yeah, but he could always be found there with his little anisette cigars and ready for a laugh. And yeah.
But you know, the thing is, Rich, like you say, the obsession, you didn't say obsession, you said the fascination. Seriously, this whole project of the Flying Nun, I met the most incredible people and fans of the show. And it was a great time. You know, and that's what I loved about it, because I met the people from the show. They welcomed me into their homes. I interviewed them. I had dinner with them. The fans of the show get in touch with me. You know, it's like I had a great time with this and met the most incredible people. And at the same token, doing my music and playing in cabarets and doing TV and stuff like that. I definitely want to interview Sally Field. Like I said, I met her for a short period, but I would love to sit and talk with her about fun stuff, because like I used to write to a lot of the people and ask them, you know, like Naomi Stevens played on it. She told me funny stories, and Madeline Sherwood was the Reverend Mother. I corresponded with all of them. And when we used to have the parties, we used to invite celebrities. We figured, why not? They responded. They didn't come, but they responded. Jim Henson wished us a happy 25th anniversary and sends this beautiful letter with a cartoon. Wow. And I was corresponding with him from when I was a kid, because I used to do puppet shows when I was a kid, and I asked him for advice, and I have all those letters because as a songwriter, everything inspired me. And I'm working on a big Halloween project too. You know, it's not the Flying Nun. It's everything that's campy and colorful and brings you laughter and fun, because there's just so much dread. And I like, and I know this sounds corny, but I want to keep bringing color into the world, you know?
And Jim Henson, that first letter that you wrote to Henson, you were asking him, at the time they didn't sell a Kermit the Frog puppet, right? And you were,
my God, you got some memory. You got some, yes. We were doing puppet shows at the elementary schools, and my teacher, Mrs. Barrowhole, I love this woman. She recently passed away a couple of years ago. She lived till 99 years old.
Wow.
And she inspired me to write, do scripts, voice impersonations. And I wrote to Jim Henson. You're right. Wow, I'm so impressed you remember that. And I said, "Dear Jim Henson, I'm doing puppet shows for the kids, and I don't have a Kermit the Frog puppet. How can I buy one from you?" And he wrote back saying, "There isn't one for sale right now, but keep doing what you're doing. You know, don't give up. Keep being creative." And I have those letters, and I cherish them because, you know, it was like he was speaking to me through the correspondence of the letters, and it was very inspirational. I went to a workshop with Stephen Sondheim and Stephen Schwartz. That was an epiphany for me. Epiphany. Stephen Schwartz and Stephen Sondheim, because I'm in the Songwriters Union, they had these workshops. And while I'm doing my songs and my music and the flying about, to sit and listen to them tell you when you're writing music, Stephen Sondheim said, "I always think of the Wizard of Oz." He said, because that story is a page turner, and every page is a different, keeps the reader interested. So you want to keep your listeners of your music interested. So when I was writing that Flying Nun rap song, I thought of him. And I said, I have to remember how he said, keep your listeners interested. And Stephen Schwartz would always say, when you're rhyming, don't repeat your rhymes. And that has stayed in my head forever. And you know, they knew what Stephen Schwartz had seen I think he saw one of my videos on Video Challenge. He goes, "You look familiar." I said, "So do you."
Jeff,
yeah.
Stephen Korn, our director, Beyond Vaudeville director, is asking, did Jeff ever talk to anyone who wrote or played music for the Flying Nun series?
No, but I did touch base with Carol Bayer Sayer. She, the partner with Burt Bacharach, she co-wrote "I'm So Glad I Can Fly," which is on the record, and I'm working on getting an interview with her right now. I tried to get in touch with Dominic Frontiere, who wrote the theme song. Dominic Frontiere wrote dozens of movie scores, and sadly he passed, and I didn't get to interview him. But yeah, I'm in the process of Carol Bayer Sayer right now.
Great. Well, Jeff, I hope that among your future works will be some music either about Suzanne or something to accompany one of her dances, perhaps. I think that would be a collaboration made in Beyond Vaudeville heaven.
In Beyond Vaudeville, it's true. Does she watch the show?
Yes, of course. And
Suzanne, I'm around, baby.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and joining us in the chat and watching. Pennsylvania, Penchington, you've got a final note here. Would love to see a Rich Brown rewind with Steve Korn if possible. Steve is, we've done some stuff with Steve. In fact, if you look on the YouTube channel, and you look up our Christmas episode, holiday episode, Steve is actually on that, and because that was his favorite episode as a director and a producer on the show. Anyway, Jeff, I want to thank you again so much, and yes, let's hope that there are more opportunities to get you into the Beyond Vaudeville tent.
Absolutely, I'll be back. I'm part of the family now, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.